Hey guys, it's Cece, and if you have checked your calendars, then you know that today is Wednesday, which of course means that today is Top 5 Wednesday. Top 5 Wednesday was created by Lainey at Ginger Reads Lainey, and I will leave the link to her channel as well as the Goodreads group down below, and you can go and check those out. And this week's theme is a fun one, and that is our top 5 buzzwords. So buzzwords are basically words that are used to describe a book that, if they are used, it is guaranteed that you will buy these books. I originally did not really think I had buzzwords, or I couldn't really come up with a list, and then I was talking to Janelle about it, and she goes, yes, you have buzzwords, you have 5 of them, and she sent me a list, and guess what? I'm just gonna use the exact list she sent me because she was dead on. These are definitely my 5 buzzwords. So let's just jump right in, starting in at number 5. At number 5, I have got LGBTQIA+, or queer books. I am always on the lookout for queer books. It is just something that I am invested in and that I really enjoy reading. I don't read a lot of YA contemporary that isn't somehow about a queer subject, just because I feel like with YA contemporary sometimes I feel that I've read the same story too many times, and I honestly prefer at this point to read queer contemporary because I think that it brings a lot more to the plot of the book. But beyond that, I mean, I prefer to find queer books in all genres, especially fantasy, which is somewhat harder to do, but fantasy is my favorite genre, so of course I would want this to extend to fantasy as well. It is just definitely a very big thing for me, and definitely one of my buzzwords. Coming in at number 4. Number 4 is female-led fantasy. This is 3 words, obviously, but it is just so much more interesting to me to read a book with a fantastic female lead character. I think that a great fantasy book can be made even better by having a fantastic female lead. And this aspect of a book is made even better if she is not the only fantastic female character in that fantasy book. Female friendships in fantasy are also a huge thing to me, and I think that they are so much more interesting than reading about one girl in a world of men in fantasy, or reading about only men with female side characters. I just prefer to have my fantasy with a heaping helping of fantastic female characters. Coming in at number 3. My number 3 spot goes to dark thrillers. This is just something that immediately catches my interest. I love really dark books in general. I think that they're more interesting, and I really enjoy getting in the mindsets of darker characters and darker storylines. And dark thrillers are just my favorite variation of this. Dark thrillers hold my interest, they keep me very involved and constantly terrified, and they stay with me in a way that certain other books sometimes don't. So if it is a dark thriller, it is definitely something that I want to look into. Coming in at number 2. For number 2, I've got retelling. Retelling is a huge buzzword for me, and is definitely something that I will look into as soon as I find out that a book is a retelling. I have definitely done a recommendations video for retellings, which you can go and check out, but I love the idea of stories that I love being retold in new ways, and it just always catches my attention. I've read good ones and bad ones, but the good ones are so wonderful, and I love going into these sort of familiar storylines and seeing twists and differences that weren't there in the originals. It's like being able to relive your favorite story, but in a new way, so that it's still surprising, which is so wonderful to me. And honestly, I just finished reading Cinder by Marissa Meyer, which is book 1 of the Lunar Chronicles, a series of retellings, and it was so much fun. I have not read a sci-fi retelling before, and it made a Cinderella story so much more interesting, and I absolutely loved reading it, and I love retellings. And finally, coming in at number 1. My number 1 buzzword is, in general, ladies loving ladies. I know that I've already mentioned queer books, but this is just sort of a subset that makes me even more invested in the book than I was previously. This is connected to both that and the fact that I prefer female-led fantasy. I just prefer to read female relationships. I think that when they're well written, they are so wonderful and such a different experience to some of the books that I read when I was a kid. I just love books with ladies, and especially ladies loving ladies. And as soon as I find out that that is what the book is about, it almost immediately goes on a very high point on my TBR. Obviously, I won't read anything that is described this way, but it just makes me so much more invested in trying to find out what the book is about, and it also probably lowers my bar. There are some books that I'll read and I'll be like, I would never read that. That doesn't really sound interesting. But as soon as it includes ladies loving ladies, then I'm a bit more willing to give it leeway. So there you go. Those are my top 5 buzzwords buzzwords, those are the kinds of books that get me the most interested, which you can probably tell if you looked at my most anticipated releases of 2016 list. But really, these are the books that I am the most interested in, and despite the fact that I wanted to believe that I was not someone that can be contained into boxes of kinds of books I really like to read, Janelle was right. These are the books that I most like to read, so thanks for the list. You were right. Thank you guys so much for watching. In the comments below, let me know what some of your big buzzwords are as far as books, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!